Tonight, the embarrasser in chief, the president's latest antics that are making our allies wince and his critics scream. Plus, a police shooting in Brooklyn. It is putting that issue back on the front pages, not only around here, but also since the spate of shootings around the country have captured national attention there as well. We're going to take a look at how the issue, once again, is bubbling up. Also, Indian Point is closing its doors, and that leaves a big energy gap in Westchester as well as New York City. How will it all affect here, and how will we get a repleted energy supply? Is there even a plan? Our investigative reporter from the Journal News, he'll join us with his findings. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to RFL. I'm Richard French, and thank you for joining us this Friday night. I know this might surprise some folks here, but believe it or not, by the end of the week here, even I get tired about talking about our president. So rather than spend the lion's share of this hour on Trump, I'll instead get a few things off my chest regarding the embarrasser in chief and talk about other things tonight. As seems by every Friday, we've got a menu of the bizarre, infuriating, or horrifying things that this president has either said or done from just the past week. Pick a week, any week. You know, my father's got an expression, I'm sure he lifted it from somebody else, but he says, and I think it nonetheless crystallizes the vortex we find ourselves in, it's called defining deviancy down. And to put it another way, this president does at least one thing every week that I have never in my lifetime seen another president contemplate, let alone do. The consequence? We accept the inexplicable as the new normal. Now, if I could pick just one moment from this past week as Exhibit A, it would be how he kicked off the press conference just yesterday in West Virginia.
You know, this was going to be my remarks. It would have taken about 2 minutes, but that would have been a little boring. A little boring.
I think we could take boring right around now. Now, it turns out it wasn't some coordinated political theater. Trump really was supposed to address the audience about tax cuts. Instead, to the surprise of all his aides in his administration, he went unscripted and, more importantly, completely unprepared. He went on a riff about apparently what he saw on Fox and Friends that morning, I'm not kidding, and a nagging insecurity still gnawing at him from an election more than a year ago.
Remember my opening remarks at Trump Tower when I opened? Everybody said, oh, he was so tough, and I used the word rape. And yesterday it came out where this journey coming up, women are raped at levels that nobody's ever seen before. In many places, like California, the same person votes many times. You probably heard about that. They always like to say, oh, that's a conspiracy theory. Not a conspiracy theory, folks. Millions and millions of people.
Turns out, shockingly, Trump lied. Not exaggerated, but he made up out of whole cloth mass rapes. Not a single rape was either witnessed or reported in this caravan he keeps talking about. Ditto for his millions committing voter fraud. It never happened. Now, I know he keeps saying it, but it's not like it happened a lot, but not millions. Republican election certifiers in red states as well as blue states could not find any evidence whatsoever that it happened. Our president just completely made up mass rape. I want to repeat that. Our president, our commander-in-chief, just completely made up a story of mass rape. And he also completely made up the integrity of our elections, and all of us just shrugged, happy that at least he didn't start some international conflict. Is this really the curve we need to grade this guy on? Now, of course, like in any other week, that was just an hors d'oeuvre for Donald's dysfunction, because maybe it's jealousy or resentment or both of the Washington Post. But Trump, he attacked Amazon with baseless lies and coupled his promises of a trade war with the Chinese to send our financial markets into a tailspin. Not a bit of this made any sense. Think about it. Why would you go after an American company this way? So, in an effort to settle personal scores against Bezos and distract from the widening Russia probe, the president went after probably the most successful American corporation, and he hurt everybody's 401k in the process. But again, we seem to nationally exhale with a sigh of relief as he heads off to Mar-a-Lago to goof off for another 3-day golf weekend because Other than an itchy twitty finger here, he can't do as much damage you would think on the course. What an inspiring standard. Now, if you say, there's a cost to this, not just to our nation, where we collectively seem to suffer from the Stockholm Syndrome here, but also globally. Former Secretary of State Madeleine Albright, she summed up that as much as we may want to dismiss this all as some bad reality TV, it turns out the world is watching and there will be a price to pay. Quote, at one time or another, Mr. Trump has attacked the judiciary, ridiculed the media, defended torture, condoned police brutality, urged supporters to be roughed up, hecklers, and jokingly or not, equated mere policy disagreements with treason. He tried to undermine faith in America's electoral process through a bogus advisory commission on voter integrity. He routinely vilifies federal law enforcement institutions. He libels immigrants and the countries from which they come. His words are so often at odds with the truth that they can appear ignorant, yet are in fact calculated to exasperate religious, social, and racial divisions. Overseas, rather than stand up to bullies, Mr. Trump appears to like bullies, and they are delighted to have him represent the American brand. If one were to draft a script chronicling fashion's resurrection, the abdication of America's moral leadership would be a credible first scene. If only she were wrong. So yeah, I'm tired of talking about the guy, and I'm tired of calling BS every week, if not every day, on the lies coming out of his mouth and the White House. But consider the alternative. If we allow this to become our new normal, what will we say when people ask, where were the patriots? Why didn't you stand up? All right, and with that, I will not talk about the president for the rest of this hour. Coming up next, there's a police shooting in Brooklyn that has sparked protests and a whole lot of questions. We'll take a look at how this one is different from others from around the country, but also bears some of the same questions and similarities.